New favorite authors, exciting arcs, incredible fantasy stories, everything. Literally everything happened in September. Hey everyone, Feeny here. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about all the books that I've read in the month of September. But before I get into the books, as always, I want to briefly talk about the stats because I love numbers, people, and I love my little spreadsheet, and I want to share this love with you. In September, I read a total of 8 books, which came out to be 2,754 pages. So one of these 8 books was a DNF, but I will talk about that later. Genre-wise, I read 4 fantasy, 2 sci-fi, 1 horror, and 1 romance. 3 of those were indie books, 5 were trade published. Rating was actually pretty good. I only had 1 2-star read, and then 4 4-star reads, and 2 5-star reads. So I was very excited about that. Let's talk about the books. Starting with romance. That was kind of a not planned book, which is the Nevermore Bookstore. Nevermore Bookstore is about a young woman who just inherited the bookstore of her aunt. The big drama in the book is essentially the town kind of being after her for it shouldn't have been her inheritance. That kind of stuff. Honestly, I didn't read it for the drama side of things. I read it for the romance, and the romance starts out with her getting a call every Thursday night from a guy with a sexy voice who always orders really cool books. And she fell in love with that voice and with the person she talks to on the other line, but she has no clue who that person is. Well, a lot of things happen. Eventually she gets to meet him, and it turns spicy. Honestly, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the audiobook. Teddy Hamilton has the perfect voice for male people in romance novels. Yum. But generally speaking, the audiobook was fantastic. It was the exact right entertainment that I needed at the point that I was reading it. Moving into horror, that was the Thrill, Chill, Kill book club pick for the month of September from the Bookish Drummer Discord, and that was the September House. And that one took me off a very weird ride. So first of all, this is a haunted house story. It's about an older couple who fell in love with the house that a realtor is showing them. And at one point, the realtor is kind of like, yeah, but you know, this person passed away in here. And then there are a couple of other unexplained deaths that happened in this house. And the couple is just like, oh, look at the stucco, look at the stairs, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Yeah, fine. Someone died. Oh, that's fine. We buy the house. And then it turns out to be a bit more fun, kind of a snarky type of story told by the woman of that couple. So it's her POV the entire time. And the way the story is told is you are basically following her around as she does her typical things. And then there are situations where she then jumps back in time and explains what it has to do with what you're seeing right this second. I thought that was interesting at the beginning, but honestly, about halfway through, I kind of got annoyed with that storytelling style because it slowed the pace down of the book tremendously, and it just got boring after a while. And the other thing was about also halfway through, there was a reveal as to, you know, some of the things that happen in the house and some of the things that relate to her that I just didn't like. I just didn't like that trope and the direction the book was going. And then that fun, snarky undertone turned just into, I don't know, kind of a weird telling just of what's happening. And then at one point I just didn't even care anymore. I couldn't even really tell you anymore what the ending was or what the resolution was of the book because I just zoned out. Jumping into fantasy. Oh my goodness, a lot happened there. So first of all, technically I finished this one in September, on September 1st, but I already talked about it in my August wrap up because I didn't want to wait a whole month to talk about it. So, you know, you can check it out there, what my thoughts are on the book. It was awesome. So just as a spoiler. I also read Nomad's Crucible by our very own Bookish Chaz. Bookish Chaz wrote another book. I have to say another book because he actually wrote quite a few books at this point. But this is his new fantasy sci-fi mix that is coming out on October 15. And I was pickled tink when he asked me if he can send me an R. He was like, yes, of course, I want to read one of your books. So first of all, it is about the nomad who is kind of an assassin for hire, and he does like all the things that, you know, no one wants to deal with. No one really knows what he is or where he's coming from. They just know he takes care of things, and he usually does take care of things, no questions asked. So he gets hired to kill the quote-unquote king, it's called Tuaki in the book, from the opposing side, but somehow he gets sidetracked and realizes there's kind of more to the whole story of that request for assassinating that person. I loved the kind of Star Wars Mandalorian vibe that the book was giving me, especially the character of the Nomad very much felt to me like the Mandalorian himself, very laid back, calm, a little bit snarky, and then just also very matter of fact throughout his interactions with the people around him. There are also themes of meddling gods. The magic system is really fascinating. I personally like the one of the villain the best. I don't know what that says about me. Oh, by the way, the story is told from multiple POVs, not just from the Nomad side, but there are a couple others as well. I like the villain part, especially. I thought he was a very fun character to follow around, and especially the magic that he was utilizing was very interesting. And what I thought was also really well done, there's one POV that showcases a father-daughter relationship, and I'm a little bit wondering if he is pulling from his own experience here. All in all, a very fun, more plot-driven, idea-based story, very fast-paced read. It is a standalone, which is exciting. We need more of those in our fantasy world. All right, the next books that I read, I'm talking about them together because they were both part of the same series, and that is The Gunmetal Gods, Conqueror's Blood, which is book 2, and Elder Epoch, which is book 3. So first of all, is this just my editions? Gunmetal Gods and Conqueror's Blood have this glossy texture, and then Elder Epoch and Dark Drinker book 4 have the matte thing. Do I need to reorder book 1 and 2? I don't know. That kind of threw me for a loop here a little bit. They don't match! But Conqueror's Blood, book 2 in the Gunmetal God saga, love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. This is a roaring 5 stars book. It's my favorite in the series. I've actually put out a separate review for that. There's a non-spoiler version and a spoiler version. The non-spoiler version still has spoilers for book 1, and then I have a spoiler thoughts conversation for book 2 as well. To summarize why I love Conqueror's Blood so much, it's the character work. First of all, I really enjoy the 2 female POVs. Great female characters, which is, you don't have that often, but he did a fantastic job writing these 2 female main characters, and then just their character work is amazing, as it was in book 1. And then book 3, Elder Epoch, that's a different animal, and it took me a little bit longer to get through. So this is, first of all, paced slightly differently than book 1 and 2, who are rather fast-paced. This is a little bit slower. This book is the goriest out of them all. It's very, oppressive, heavy. It's a difficult read, a gory read. I highly recommend that you don't eat anything while you're reading this book. I will have a spoiler-filled discussion, thoughts kind of video on this, so if you've read this book, definitely go subscribe to my channel so you can see the video once it's out, and then we can have a conversation about everything that is happening here. And while we're talking about this, quick interlude, I would love it if you subscribe. If you like these videos, if you like talking about books, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on this video as well. Thank you. And with that, we're moving into sci-fi. That's not how an alien sounds, but we're just rolling with it. That was my DNF, which is Ray Bradbury's Driving Blind. I think I'm just Ray Bradbury'd out. I only listened to the first story of this short story collection, and I'm just done. It was, again, the same storytelling voice again. It felt very similar, and I was like, listen, been there, done that. I don't need a whole bunch of more of the same stuff, so I'll take a break from that. And then, boy, that came out of left field. The next one. I don't even know. My sci-fi September read was Roadside Picnic by Arkady Arkardy and Boris Strugatsky. They're brothers, Russian authors, and this is a classic sci-fi written in the 70s. It's essentially a first contact / dystopian sci-fi story happening on Earth. Aliens visited us and immediately left again. But the places where they landed, those places are now called the Zone. They are uninhabitable. No one can just go there, except for stalkers like Red, who this story is about mostly. What that means is stalkers are people who are going into the Zone to pull out those alien artifacts illegally and then sell them on the black market. This again is a more idea-based sci-fi. What I mean with that is you're thrown into the story and the first pages you're actually trying to figure out where am I? Let me level set with what is happening here and figure out, okay, so I'm slowly understanding who the characters are. I'm slowly understanding what we're dealing with here and where we are and whatnot. And then you're just following along the plot. It's really not a fully coherent, detailed, explained story. There are a lot of things that you just have to take for granted, right? There's no deep dive explanation, no character motivation, kind of none of that there. It's literally the story is told mostly out of Red's viewpoint and you're just following along. The vibe though is impressive. So especially when these guys are in the zone, like in that alien area, the vibe that is described while they're in there is fantastic. It even has some eerie horror type vibes to it. Very light though, like by no means is this a horror book, but it was super fascinating to follow them along and, you know, hear about what they are seeing. Again, without explanation, you're literally just seeing what they were seeing, if that makes sense. And what I thought was really fascinating about this, there's definitely some sociopolitical discussion here on greed and capitalism, on freedom and those kind of things. But even if you're not into this type of stuff, you can just read the book and enjoy it for what it is. I loved the very powerful last line. And by saying that, big hint, if you read this version, do not read the foreword by Ursula K. Le Guin because she spoils that last very powerful line. I didn't read the foreword and I thought it was only that powerful because I read through the story and followed Red along and throughout his life, and then that's what happened and I thought it was so cool. I loved it. Like seriously, this was such a good book and I wasn't even at the finish line when I went over to Amazon and already ordered 2 other of their books, and I definitely will be reading them sooner rather than later. These are all the books that I've read in the month of September and I'm feeling very good about the progress in the one series that I made. If you want to hear more about progress in series, you're very welcome to watch my October TBR. I'm talking a little bit about my plans there for series I want to continue in the month of October. So go check that out. And then I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and I see you soon with my next video. Bye!